Before we get started, I just want everyone to sort of think about what misconceptions people have about data science and what it means and how you actually do it. And maybe we can share some of those misconceptions later. So, but my backstory has already been given, but I just kind of wanted to iterate that I am by no means a machine learning or data science expert. My background is in biochemistry. I have been involved in the tech community for a while, and now I'm in the edtech sphere. Right, so what is online learning? Well, I can tell you what it's not. It is not recording your lecture that's 2 hours long and putting it up onto the internet. It's also not taking a stack of notes and putting them on a website. This is very overwhelming for people to digest. And, you know, if you've ever tried to search data science, so many things come up, and there's so much out there that it can be completely overwhelming to try and figure out where to even start. So what do we want to do? We want to do some deep learning, pun intended. So we don't want people drowning in the deep end. We want to design a journey for them. But before I get into that, so who are these people who want to learn about data science, but maybe don't have a background in computer science or data science? They haven't actually studied it. Who are these people who want to do these short courses? So there's the citizen data scientist. And this is a person who is not a data scientist in their role, but they have data that they can work with, that they could use within their business department, and who want to try and leverage that within the organization. And you also get people who have to work with data analysts or data scientists, and they just need to understand, and they need to speak the same language. So those are the kind of groups of people that are looking to learn more about data science in a short course. And like to give some examples, marketing, even tech people who are kind of more developers want to know more about the data science side of things, sales, operations. So it's kind of across the board that people want to learn more about science or data science. So they get sold this idea, this beautiful brain AI vibe. And then when they start looking into it, it's this code that they don't really understand. It's a bit intimidating. So like, how do you bridge the gap between like AI, data science? It can do anything. It's so amazing. And this sort of like very dry lines of code. And you might think, okay, so there's the code, but there's also this problem where people initially conflate the tech with the data science. So they think, oh, I'll just learn how to code Python, and then there's these libraries, scikit-learn and pandas, and just have to, I'm a developer already, I know how to code. I'm just going to do my thing. But if you try to implement data science without understanding some things, it can go very wrong. Like, how do you impute missing values? What are the computational costs of certain algorithms like KNN? When you have categorical variables, what happens if you've got too many of them and you get a sparse feature space? Or you think, oh, neural networks are cool, let me apply that to my 100 observations. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong if you don't have a deeper understanding, but at the same time, you don't need to know everything, but it is helpful to know a little bit more than just the code. So then people think, okay, well, let me go and learn a bit more. My favorite resource is this book called An Introduction to Statistical Learning. I call it the Bible. But even though it's called an introduction, you still get scary mathematical formulas, which can be very off-putting if you haven't, done any sort of maths or don't have mathematical background. And as I was saying before, like if you just search the internet, you get these blogs, and you're never really sure if the person who wrote the blog really knows what they're talking about. And it's just a wave of information, and like picking that apart as a beginner is quite intimidating. So what do? We have learning design. So learning design is something to hold your hand through the dark forest on your journey to learn anything, but we're talking about data science. So what are the tools that we use? So there's scaffolding. So that's basically just starting with smaller concepts and then building up, and not just, and a lot of it is sort of breaking down the jargon. So often, once you've been in a field for a while, you actually just forget what all the jargon is. And then feedback loops. So once you've learned something, you kind of need to practice it to kind of make sure that it actually sticks. And some of the ways to do that are quizzes, or just reflection, or sharing ideas with fellow participants. So that's collaborative learning. So that's discussion forums and that kind of thing. And especially for all learning, but it should be outcomes-based and relevant. So you want to walk away with an actual skill, not just sort of theoretical academic things. Right. And to accomplish these things, we have these sort of things in our toolbox. So we use videos and discussion forums, just plain old notes, quizzes, Jupyter notebooks, and business-oriented case studies and data sets. So just to talk a bit more about some of these things, videos should actually be quite short, like 8 minutes. Sometimes you do screencasts, which are a bit longer. But as I was saying before, like recording a lecture, an hour-long lecture, people actually don't absorb much, especially in an online environment. We like to use Jupyter notebooks because it's sort of a low barrier to entry if people want to do that on their own. You can even use Google Colab. You don't even need to install anything. We typically don't ask people to code anything from scratch. We kind of just like show them how stuff works and do a little bit of hand holding along the way to show them how you would put together, load the data, prepare the data, actually do the model. And then one thing which I haven't actually used before, but which I think is really cool, is Orange. So it allows you to set up a pipeline without actually even doing any code. It just like has it in the background. So it has like little bubbles that you connect together. Anyway, so those are just some of the tools that we use or could be used. So at the end of the day, the goal is to bridge the gap between the tech and the business. There's this idea that tech can solve all these problems, and it can, but there seems to be like often a problem of communicating what the business needs, and or what we have this data, but what can we do with it, or what data should we collect? So there's this need for this sort of intermediate role, or people who have skills in different areas. And so basically we need to be equipped to collaborate, and hopefully doing a short course like this that that TU offers. And there are other companies that do it as well.